So here are some rules. We're not going to include the Warlock in this video because the Warlock uses Pact Magic, which I would like to discuss in another video. And also the casters will only consider their main class features, not their subclass features. And with that out of the way, let's begin. The Cleric is a pretty strong spellcaster, especially at earlier levels. Yeah, looking at spells that can do great support, great healing, and actually great damage. And it has some standout control spells options, like Command and Banishment. But overall, I find the Cleric to be lacking at higher levels. And the Cleric itself doesn't have a lot of synergy with spells, but it does have medium armor and shield at base, so this is a pretty valuable way to defend a caster from losing their concentration. So the Druid is actually my favorite class in the game, and Wild Shape is okay with spell synergy. For example, you can choose a flying creature and cast a control spell, or burrow to the ground, or you can get stuff like Blind Sight against Fog Cloud, so it's okay, but it's not really that good without taking subclass into consideration. And for the Druid, their spell list is actually the most versatile in my opinion. You get all the good spells that can do summon, that can do control, that can do damage, that can do healing and support, and they can pretty much do anything. But the thing is, they have a lot of spells that really need concentration, and many of their strongest spells requires the DM's discretion. For example, Conjure Woodland Beings, summoning 8 pixies is extremely OP, but it doesn't really work that way unless your DM allows you to. Otherwise, the DM will just choose at random for you. So overall, I think the Druid is pretty good. Their level 20 Druid feature allows them to use spells without components, but it comes on too late. So number 3 is the most difficult choice I have to make, but I went with the Sorcerer. And the reason being that the Sorcerer is a strong spellcaster, a budget wizard spellist. They have Constitution saving throw proficiency, starting off at level 1. So I think the Sorcerer is quite good because they have Meta Magic, which helps them to buff their spellcasting. And we are looking at spells that have really great synergy, like Twinning Suggestion, for example, using Careful Spell on Hypnotic Pattern, using Subtle Spells on Counterspell, making you the best counterspeller in the game, and Quickening Sunbeam, which means that you can cast the spell twice in one round. This is really powerful for the sorcerer as a spellcaster. 2 weaknesses. So number 1, it doesn't have ritual casting, which means that the sorcerer by default has the only penalty as the other full casters all have ritual casting. The second point is that the sorcerer actually doesn't get some of the strongest spells for an arcane caster, which is weird, but for example, they doesn't get Force Cage. And I think overall the sorcerer deserve to be higher if you really maximize their overall power, but there are better options up there. And the second place is going to the Bard. So for your class feature, you get Jack of all trades, and this ability actually lets you buff some of your best spells in the game requiring ability check. For example, Dispel Magic, for example, Counterspell, these are some of the best spells in the game. And you also get Magical Secret at level 10, 14, and 18. So Magical Secret is the game changer here because you get to choose some of the best spells in the game that is normally not accessible to the Bard, Counterspell being one of them. And you can also choose some of the spells I will mention here. For example, Find Greatest Deed is a fantastic spell to give you permanent flight with no concentration. You can choose to go for Wall of Force, though I will not recommend it, since your 5th level spells are pretty great. And you can also get stuff like Contingency, Simulacrum, and Maze, as well as Wish. But even just for the base spell list itself, you get some of the strongest in the game. And the specialty for a bard is that their spell list is probably the most complete overall. You get some of the best control spells like Tasha's Hideous Laughter at a budget. You get Suggestion, you get Hypnotic Pattern, you get Polymorph, and you also get some of the best spells for support and healing, like Healing Word, Aid, you get Raise Dead, which is okay, and you also get greater restoration and lesser restoration. And I think overall the Bard has one of the best spell lists in the game, and it has the class features to back it up. first place, and I think this is not a surprise to anyone, but the wizard is really strong in a couple ways. So first of all, they are a ritual caster, but the thing about the ritual casting is that they don't need to prepare the ritual spells to use them. So this doesn't seem to be such a big deal until you realize that all the other spellcaster I mentioned, they have a limited spells prepared number, which means that they have to sacrifice some of the uses of rituals in exchange for good spell effects. The wizard doesn't have that cost, they just have to choose the ritual spells and use them. So stuff like Find Familiar is really powerful and only the wizard has access to it. And I think the second point about the wizard is that they have some of the best class features to work with their spells. And it's not in a way that meta magic does for a sorcerer, but arcane recovery allows the wizard to cast more spells per day. At level 18 and 20, they get some at will casting of level spells, as well as the free casting of 2 level 3 spells. And this comes online pretty late, but these are still really powerful regardless. So of course, as everyone knows, the wizard has its best quality in terms of spell list. And the spell list is both the best in quantity as well as quality. So we're going to look at some spells here. Tasha's Hideous Laughter, fantastic. The defensive spells at level 1 is fantastic. At level 2, you get the same goodies as Sorcerer. Level 3, you get to use Counterspell and Leoman's Tiny Hut, Phantom Steed, etc. Level 4 is starting to get really powerful for the wizard, and you get some of the spells that only you can get. So for example, Summon Graded Demon is a really powerful spell in my opinion, and losing concentration, that is so-called a penalty because the demon gets to stay on the battlefield. It's actually a buff if you know how to use it and position the demon. And you can also use the Faithful Hound, which doesn't seems to be that good on its own. But when you combine it with the 5th level spell Wall of Force, you can pretty much solo any boss in the game. And at level 5, of course, Wall of Force is the best spell at its level, and you also get Transmute Rock. And at level 6, you get stuff like Contingency, and Contingency is really powerful. At level 7, you get Simulacrum, again doubling your spellcasting. You get Force Cage. At level 8, I find the spells to not be that great for all the other full casters, but for the wizard, you get Clone, you get Demi-Plane, you get Illusory Dragon, you get Maze. These are all fantastic options. And at level 9, you get Wish, you get True Polymorph, you get Shape Change, you get Foresight, you get everything. They are the spellcaster in DnD 5th edition, but the list is not far off comparing with their competitors. And here's a short recap at the end of the video. At 5th, it is the Cleric, at 4th, it is the Druid, at 3rd, it is the Sorcerer, at 2nd, it is the Bard, and the 1st belongs to the Wizard. So I hope that this video helps you to familiarize with the power of the spellcasters. And of course, if you want to rank the Warlock, feel free to do it in the comments and let me know where will you position the Warlock. And this has been a full caster spellcasting ranking video. Signing out, and I hope you have a great day.